Ms. Terry Osbeck. First, let me comment that I lived in England for 6 years. I have functioned in my early 60s without health insurance. I'm currently under Medicare. I have quite a bit of experience with these issues of health care. Were the time available, I could get into much more detail, but the thing that concerns me most is what I would call the law of unintended consequences. We have example after example out of the federal government of laws being enacted, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't work like it was intended. Something else happens. I mean, after all, you have 500 people legislating and 50 million people thinking about how they're going to deal with whatever's been legislated. That means to me that this rush to legislate, when you're dealing with 1/6 of the economy, it's just, the politest term I can think of, is not prudent. You know, we need to have the bill available in whatever final form is coming down, such that people can know what's going on, and many, many people can comment. It's foolhardy and highly risky to plunge towards legislation when you're dealing with this huge an issue without the full study of what could happen, how it could be interpreted, where it might lead to, all of those issues. It deeply concerns me. I mean, I oppose various aspects of it. I oppose the public option. When I was in England, I thought to myself, and this was some years ago, boy, I can't picture Americans ever tolerating what I saw my British friends deal with. I also have seen, which needs some rectification, that if you don't have health insurance, you know, Medicare, you get charged this much. The insurance companies pay this much. If you don't go in with insurance, you pay this much.
Yeah.
I don't hear anybody talking about that. And, you know, I was able to negotiate with the hospitals and the doctors and everybody. But yeah, it was a long and torturous process. But, you know, Congresswoman, please consider the law of unintended consequences, because everybody that talks about this bill, you know, on television speaks with such certainty, such absolute certainty, that, and it just can't possibly be like that. The other point I would observe, and that's that my distress, my anger is, and I don't believe the rest of the people here, it's not manufactured. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Next we have Bob Wardall.
I did not indicate
Oh,
an intent to
indeed you.
speak.
I'm sorry, we put your card in the wrong pile. Apologize for that. William David Oy? David Oy? Dan? Is it D-A-N-D-O-Y?
It's Dan Doyle. He had to leave for
Oh.
work.
Okay.
But I'd be glad to take up his time.
And by the way, the people who wrote notes and expressed that they aren't going to speak today, I will, of course, be looking at those. Dan Stevens.
Thank you, Representative Baldwin, for coming here today. We've been promised transparency from this administration. We've had the stimulus package. It was too important to wait. We had to vote on that right away, had to push it through. Too important to not even read it from very many members of Congress. It was an abomination to present to the American people a 1,000-page pork-laden money spending bill and stand up there and admit that you did not read this? I'm not angry at you. I've talked to your office on this, and they said that you have spent time in conferring and reading and studying the bill. I've been a little upset. It's just, I'm flabbergasted by the arrogance coming from Washington to stand there and put us in such debt and then admit that you have not even taken the time to read this piece of legislation. But you're going to invoke this on the American people. We have the bailouts, we have cap and trade, and now we have health care. You stated partially what was in the health care bill, but, and I'm taking you at your word that you have read this, I know you were part in writing this piece of legislation, but you haven't told us what's not in the bill, but is in the bill, if you understand what I'm saying. Maybe a little vague there, but that's kind of typical for Washington right now. You've stated that we will be able to keep our health care, but in several different forms of this bill, it has been stated you can keep your health care as long as nothing changes in your plan.
Yep.
And at the end of 5 years, they will be rolled over into the public option, but now we hear there is no public option. Perhaps. Perhaps. This is bothersome. The twisting of words, the innuendo, you have to ask a specific question to get a specific answer. And the vagaries that are used and manipulated by this administration is, again, the height of absurdity. Now, also, in some of the bailout in the health care bill, is there a stipulation in there for the auto unions? A bailout for the health care for auto unions, to your knowledge?
There's nothing, no specific groups of employees are identified as far as I know in the healthcare legislation. It has the section dealing with those who already have insurance and sections dealing with people who don't have insurance or are underinsured. But I'm not aware of anything that specifically points out to a group of people.
I was under the understanding that a $1 billion, let's say, fund was established to help, it's stated in the bill, for some of those unions.
If something's happened, was this in the Senate? Because I will tell you that I'm not absolutely up to date on what they've done this week, because we had our own calendar that I was focusing on.
I would focus on that with that as well.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm just at my wit's end with the arrogance coming from Washington. And I'd like to know how many people will it take to march on Washington before we are treated as Americans instead of racists, because everyone here loves this country. Liberals, conservatives, we love this country. And to not have our voices heard and be labeled as fascists, racists, loonies, and not just manufactured anger. Believe me, I'm not manufacturing this anger. Okay, I'm carrying it. Okay. So when Madam Pelosi tried to push this health care bill through the first time in 2 weeks. Yeah. 2 weeks, it was her goal. You can't buy a house in 2 weeks. President Obama didn't take out